You know, when we think of Greek mythology, one name usually jumps to mind first: Heracles. But way before him, there was another hero. You could almost call him the original monster slayer. His story is just packed with prophecies, divine gifts, and some truly impossible challenges. So today, let's get into the incredible tale of Perseus.
And his most famous quest, the one everyone knows, it all boils down to this one terrifying, almost paradoxical question. How in the world do you kill a monster when just looking at it turns you to solid stone? That was the challenge, and it's right at the heart of his legend. To really get who Perseus is, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. And his birth, it's completely wrapped up in fear and this one terrifying prophecy. Right from the get-go, you just know this is going to be a story about fighting against fate itself.
So it all starts with this guy, King Acrisius of Argos. He's desperate for a son to be his heir, so he goes to the oracle at Delphi. But the news he gets back is, well, it's the worst news possible. He's told that his own daughter's son is fated to kill him. And this one prophecy is going to trigger every single thing that happens next.
Acrisius, totally terrified, thinks he can outsmart destiny. So what does he do? He locks his only daughter Danae away in a bronze chamber where no one can get to her. A perfect plan, right? Well, he didn't account for the king of the gods. Zeus sees her, is completely captivated, and visits her as a shower of gold. And from that magical divine union, our hero Perseus is born. So now King Acrisius has a huge problem on his hands. He can't just kill his grandson, not when the kid's father is Zeus. That would be a death sentence. So he comes up with another plan. He shoves Danae and the baby Perseus into a big wooden chest and just casts them out to sea, leaving it all up to the gods. But they get lucky. They wash up on an island called Seriphos, where they're found and taken in by a kind fisherman named Dictys.
So for a while, Perseus grows up in peace on this little island. But you know how these stories go. A new threat shows up, this time from inside his new home. And this is what's going to launch him from his quiet life right into the world of monsters and legends.
See, that fisherman, Dictys, his brother is the king of the island, a man named Polydectes. And Polydectes wants Danae, all for himself. The only thing in his way is her now-grown son, Perseus, who's always protecting her. So the king comes up with this really devious plan. He fakes a wedding, demands let everyone bring a gift, and then he taunts Perseus, who has nothing to offer, until Perseus makes a foolish, prideful boast that he'll bring back the head of Medusa. It's a suicide mission, and that's exactly what the king is counting on.
Luckily for Perseus, he's got family in high places. The gods are on his side. His half-siblings, Hermes and Athena, show up and give him this incredible hero's toolkit. We're talking winged sandals to fly, a sword so sharp it can cut through anything, Hades' own helmet that makes him invisible, and a polished shield to use as a mirror. He even gets a special bag, a cabesus, to safely carry that cursed head. He is literally armed to the teeth by the gods.
But even with all this amazing gear, he has no idea where Medusa actually is. So his first stop is to find the Graeae, three ancient, creepy sisters who have to share a single eye and a single tooth between the three of them. And here, Perseus shows he's not just strong, he's clever. He waits for the exact moment they're passing the eye to one another, snatches it right out of the air, and basically holds it for ransom until they tell him where to find the Gorgons.
All right, so he's got the gear and he's got the location. Now we get to the main event, the showdown with one of the most terrifying creatures in all of mythology, and what happens on the incredible journey home.
Perseus flies to their lair and finds the Gorgons fast asleep. He remembers Athena's warning, whatever you do, do not look directly at Medusa. So he uses his polished shield like a rear-view mirror, guiding his approach by looking at her reflection. Then, with one perfect swing of that divine sword, he takes her head. And just like that, the impossible question is answered.
And just when you think it can't get any weirder, something absolutely wild happens. From Medusa's neck, two beings spring out, fully formed. Turns out they were her children by the god Poseidon. One is the amazing winged horse Pegasus. The other is a giant named Chrysaor. It's this bizarre, magical birth happening at the exact moment of a monstrous death.
So Perseus is flying home, and on the way he spots a young woman, Andromeda, chained to a seaside cliff. She's about to be sacrificed to a sea monster. And this is where we see a whole different side of our hero. See, killing Medusa? That was about survival, about fulfilling a promise he was tricked into. But saving Andromeda? That's a choice. It's a pure act of heroism, jumping in to save a total stranger. He kills the sea monster and wins her hand in marriage.
So he's coming home victorious, a true hero. But remember that dark shadow from his birth, that prophecy? Well, it's been following him this whole time, and now we're coming full circle.
First things first, he's got to settle the score back on Seriphos. He gets there and finds out his mother has been forced into hiding from the tyrannical king Polydectes. So Perseus marches right into the king's court, announces he's brought the gift the king demanded, and then he pulls Medusa's head out of the bag. Polydectes and all his followers are turned instantly to stone. It's a truly perfect and petrifying kind of justice.
But what about that original prophecy, the one that started this whole mess? Well, King Acrisius hears about his grandson's heroic deeds and gets so scared that he actually flees his own kingdom to hide. But fate, as it turns out, has a pretty twisted sense of humor. Years later, Perseus is competing in some athletic games in a totally different kingdom. He throws a discus, but the throw goes wild, sailing into the crowd and accidentally striking and killing an old man. And who is that old man? Of course, it was his grandfather, Acrisius. The prophecy came true not through war or revenge, but through a complete and tragic accident. You just can't outrun your fate.
So the quest is over, the prophecy is fulfilled, but the story of Perseus is far from done. He's about to go from monster slayer to king and city builder and leave a legacy that's going to shape the future of ancient Greece. And this really shows you the kind of man he is. He's now the rightful heir to the throne of Argos, but he feels way too guilty to take it after accidentally killing his grandfather. So he actually trades kingdoms with a neighboring king, and after that, he goes on to found one of the most powerful and legendary cities in all of Greek history, the great city of Mycenae.
And what a dynasty he started there. With Andromeda, he had a whole bunch of kids, and their descendants, known as the Perseids, ruled Mycenae for generations. But their most famous, most celebrated descendant? Well, that would be Perseus' own great-grandson, a hero whose fame would one day become even greater than his own, the one and only Heracles.
You know, when you look at his whole story, Perseus is this amazing mix of destiny and personal choice. Sure, he was born a demigod, and yeah, he was armed by the gods, but at every single crucial moment, he was the one who had to act. He had to be clever, he had to be brave, and he had to be a good person. Which really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is it that truly makes a hero? Is it the incredible gifts they're given, or is it the very human courage it takes to actually use them?